Getting over a sinus infection, so that's fun.
Yeah,
Got to love pollen. No, no, you
yeah.
don't.
I
No.
know. I know. We hate pollen. Also, this is a new
Mm.
change for the Two Geeks One Mic Podcast. We are also streaming live on YouTube. That is youtube.com/geekycal. And I have a new intro for us today.
Mm.
Yep. Welcome to Two Geeks One Mic Podcast, your go-to podcast for the latest buzz in books, movies, and games. Whether you're a page-turning bookworm, a movie aficionado, or a die-hard gamer, we've got you covered. In today's episode, we are diving into a treasure trove of upcoming releases that are guaranteed to leave you on the edge of your seat, couch, or gaming chair. From jaw dropping cinematic adventures to novels that'll keep you reading late into the night. And let's not forget those epic games set to redefine your next level gaming experience. Tune in as we spotlight the stories, worlds, and creative minds shaping the cultural landscape. Let's get started on this journey to discover your next favorite obsession.
Hmm. Very interesting.
Yes, and we are going to start off with the upcoming releases of books. Now, April 1st has passed, but I did find a few books that are was released the first of this month. The first one is The Beauty of the End by Lauren Sinestra. In this provocative work of speculative fiction, two sisters navigate the complex moral terrain of reproductive ethics, individual freedoms, and society's duty to a future facing imminent extinction. The next book I have is Direct Descendant by
That's
Tanya.
a bit.
What's wrong?
That book was just a little bit descriptive.
Yep. The next book I have is Direct Descendant by Tanya Huff. Queer, cozy, and with a touch of eldritch horror mixed in just for fun, this is a charming love story about a small town baker, a quick witted PI, and yes, an ancient evil. Then we have a drop of.
Sounds interesting.
It does, especially with the eldritch horror aspect. I'm not much for romance, but I might check this out.
Mm. Well, Eldritch horror, though, you have to be very particular with it. It has to be conveyed in a particular manner, in my personal opinion.
No, I agree fully. I agree fully. Okay. Then we have a drop of corruption and Anna and Den Mystery by Robert Jackson Bennett. A quirky detective and her faithful assistant take on their most
Mhm.
perplexing case yet. A murderer that can seemingly walk through walls who started targeting the magical few empire they serve.
Mm. By the way, our little mascot is at the door. She's not happy with you.
I know, I know. I'll make it up
And
to
I
her.
mean, she is very much not happy.
Oh, I trust me,
She
I
is
know.
glaring at me.
I will make it up to her when I get out of here. Then we have The Ephemera
Hmm.
Collector by Stacy Nathaniel Jackson. A tenacious curator fights to save her beloved library and a new groundbreaking archive in this epic Afrofuturist debut. Okay. Next, we have Faithbreaker by Hannah Kaner. The Fallen Gods trilogy concludes, but not before the fate of Midrin hangs in the balance as mighty gods and mortal heroes clash in a final battle for supremacy. We have Freak's Law by Jane Flett. In
Hmm.
this riotous horror debut, a traveling carnival of troublemakers arrive in a small Scottish town and perform their favorite pastime, revenge. Gifted and
Mm.
talented by
Vengeance. I had to. I'm sorry.
It's quite alright.
It's either revenge. It was either vengeance or revenge.
Either or would have worked. Either or
Shouldn't do
would have
that when
worked.
my throat hurts, but
Okay.
mm,
Then we have Gifted and Talented by uh, Olivier Blake. The story of three siblings who, upon the death of their father, are forced to reckon with their long festering rivalries, dangerous abilities, and the crushing weight of all their unrealized adolescent potential. We have Terrors by Margaret Owens. The Little Thieves series ends as with bloody conspiracy, sinister magic, and old adversaries closing in. It will take everything Vanya has to save not just the people she loves, but the future she fought for. Then we have Icarus Coda
hmm.
by Timothy Zahn. The Icarus saga continues as former Icarus Group operatives Rourke and Celine find themselves fugitives on the run, pursued by the Commonwealth, the Path, and the Ancient Ame, who are hell bent on making a comeback. Okay, we got Iceborne by Michael Livingston. In the thrilling sequel to Seaborn, the Windborn threaten war against
Mm.
the Fair Isles, and three women of the sea hatch daring plans to change their fates. Then we have Reluctant Witch by Melissa Marr. The A Course in Magic series continues as newlyweds Ellie, a powerful witch, and Prospero, who's tinkered with Ellie's memories so she doesn't realize she was forced into marrying Prospero, must learn to work together when the future of their magical land comes under threat. Rhino, The Rise of a Warrior by Nicholas Sansbury Smith. In the author's latest Helldivers novel, in the brutal wasteland centuries after the nuclear apocalypse, a warrior baptized in blood would defy the brutal empire that has enslaved his people. Then we have Sour Cherry by Natalia Theodoridou, a stunning reimagining of Bluebeard, one of the most mythological serial killers, twisted into a modern tale of toxic masculinity, a feminist sermon, and a folktale for the 21st century. Okay, now we have When We Were Real by
Mm.
Daryl Gregory. A madcap adventure following two friends on a cross-country bus tour through the mind-boggling glitches in their simulated world as they grapple with love, family, secrets, and the very nature of reality in a simulation. And last of the April 1st releases is Where the Axe is Buried by Ray Naylor. This near future tale combines the story of a near impossible revolutionary operation with a blistering indictment of the many forms of authoritarianism that suffocate human freedom. What you think of the April 1st releases?
Mm, a couple of them probably might catch my eye, but I have to. I'm one of those. And I hate to say this, I shop by what the book looks like,
Oh,
but I also shop with what the book's about. Does that make
gotcha.
sense?
Oh, that makes sense. I'm the same way. I'm one of those people that
Like,
stereo.
does that make
That makes sense. I
like?
stereotypically judge a book by its cover,
Excuse
but
me.
I also will go by the synopsis as well.
Hmm.
Okay, now we have April 8th releases.
Yeah. I mean, I do like to step out of my comfort zones every now and then.
Oh, I'm the same way. I mean, I've been on a horror kick for a while, but I'm dipping my toe in sci-fi and other genres. Okay, now we have the April 8th releases. We have Blood of
Mm.
Hercules by Jasmine Moss. This dark romantasy follows a young woman struggling to succeed in a world controlled by the elite. But her circumstances change when a blood test reveals she has Spartan blood and may have the capabilities to become immortal. All right, now we have The Book That Held Her Heart by Mark Lawrence. Two people once connected by a vast, mysterious library are now separated and must overcome time and distance to reunite and bring peace to their worlds in the final book of the library trilogy. The Butcher's Masquerade by Matt Dinneman. The Dungeon Crawler Call series continues with this fifth volume, in which Carl and Princess Donut refuse to pray. The Cat Who Saved the Library by Sasuke Natsukawa. The sequel to The Cat Who Saved Books is described as an uplifting tale from Japan about a talking cat, a book loving girl, and the power of books to make a difference in the world. Then we have Cold Eternity by S.A. Barnes. In this space hard tale, desperation for eternal life leads to a fate worse than death. The Cut by C.J. Dotson. In this chilling supernatural horror is set in a mysterious hotel. A woman fleeing her abusive ex finds herself running from more than just her past. Now we have Dark Rising by Brian
Mm.
Andrews and Jeffrey Wilson. In this fourth installment of the Shepherd series, good and evil collide in a battle that has raged for thousands of years. And Navy SEAL Jedediah Johnson and his team are at the tip of the spear, fighting for humanity's future and the ones they love. Don't Sleep with the Dead by Ngi Vo. This standalone novella is a companion work to The Chosen and the Beautiful, the author's reimagining of The Great Gatsby. It picks up with Nick Carraway on the eve of World War II and concerns his unlikely reunion with Jay Gatsby. Now we have Firebird by Juliet Cross. House of the Dragon meets fire meets From Blood and Ash in this epic scorching dark romantasy. The Folklore of Forever by Sarah Hogel. A steamy enemies to lovers romantasy about a paranormal skeptic who is roped into a ghost hunting romp by the charming boy next door, who might just show her what real fantasies are made of. The Geographer's Map to Romance by India Houghton. Geography professors in a failed marriage of convenience inconveniently reconnect for an emergency mission in this swoony historical fantasy rom-com. Then we have House of Blight by Maxim M. Martineau, the first novel in a eerie, darkly creative, and romantic new gothic fantasy duology. Now we have In the Company of Wolves by Steve Lang. Step into a world where the boundaries between science, myth, and the supernatural blur In the Company of Wolves trilogy. This action packed saga will transport you to distant worlds where fierce warriors battle unimaginable forces and heroes are forged in the heat of unrelenting war. All three books released together. The other titles are Brothers in Arms and Anathema. Now we have Last Chance to Save the World by Beth Revis. This conclusion to the Chaotic Orbits novella trilogy finds Ada and Rian breaking into a high security facility to give Earth a fighting chance at survival. The Only Song Worth Singing by Randy Dawn.
Hmm.
Patrick, Sierran, and Malachi. He wants you to, Malachi. I'm so sorry. Would have been happy to play music for coins on the
Really?
streets of Dublin, but when their sound lands them in a record deal, they also get their first tour of America as they gather fans. However, they also get the attention of three sides. Fairy straight out of the Irish tradition who play by their own rules. I'm sorry, I saw Malachi and I had to do the Children of the Corn. I am not ashamed of myself. Alright. Now we have Scales by Christopher Hines, an electrifying thriller about species re-engineering run amok. We have Their Monstrous Hearts by Yigit Turhan. In this gothic horror tale, a writer inherits his grandmother's crumbling villa, a creepy place filled with mounted butterflies and secrets about her mysterious death. Then we have Tonight I Bleed by Catherine J. Adams. In this sequel to Tonight I Burn, a witch finds herself face to face with death as she stands at the center of a magical rebellion and back to back with her enemies as she falls deeper into a seductive romance. And last we have The Wind Reaver by Julie Johnson. Magic and adventure swirl through this spellbinding romantasy where a young woman reignites the embers of an ancient prophecy, unleashing a storm that could save her realm or doom them all. What you think of the April 8th releases?
Mm, nothing outright caught my attention, but then again, I am also a mood reader too, so
Yeah,
it just does depend.
it really does. I'm a mood reader too. If I'm not feeling it, I can't even read a sentence, let alone several chapters. Okay.
Hmm.
We have April 15th releases. Another Fine Mess by Lindy Ryan. The remaining Evans women from Bless Your Heart return for another round of battle with the undead while tracking the new menace that just entered their small Texas town. Now we have The Ashfire King by Chelsea Abdullah, a
Ooh, excuse me.
merchant. Are you good?
Yeah, I belched.
Okay. A merchant and a prince trapped in the crumbling realm
And then
of
I currently have a 20-pound four-legged mascot on top of me.
Gotcha. A merchant and a prince trapped in the crumbling realm of Jin must figure out how to save the one world to return to their own in the Ashfire King, the second book in the Sandsea trilogy. We have Dark Diamond by Neil Asher. A new space opera trilogy begins as a captain being targeted by assassin realizes the strange device that comes into his possession is bringing him back to life every time he dies. As he tries to navigate this new way of surviving, he must also protect the device from enemies who want it for their own. We have Forged for Destiny by Andrew Knighton. Raoul has a destiny, claim his birthright as the last surviving heir of King Barbanius and lead his conquered people to freedom. We have The Gentleman and His Vilesmith by Rebecca Ide. A young lord, his intended bride, and his former lover become unlikely allies as they race to solve a deadly conspiracy in this queer historical fantasy of magic, murder, and steamy encounters. You have The Guilt Pill by
Mm.
Samaya Dave. A new mom overwhelmed by the pressures of her osten- of ostensibly perfect life tries a miracle drug for women that erases all feelings of guilt. But there's a catch. To acquire such sudden total confidence, which becomes evident when she starts getting overly aggressive while under its effects. Hellions by Julia Elliott. From the acclaimed author of The Wilds comes an electric story collection that blends folklore, fairy tales, southern gothic, and horror, revealing in the collusion of the familiar with the wildly surreal. The Lie That Binds Them by Matthew Ward. Set in a world of ancient myth and dangerous magic, The Lie That Binds Them is the heart pounding conclusion to Matthew Ward's Soulfire saga, where a thief dares to seek vengeance against an immortal king and finds herself on the path to war. Notes from a Regicide by Isaac Feldman. A heartbreaking story of trans self discovery with a rich relatability and a science fictional twist. A Palace Near the Wind, Natural Engines by I. Jang. This science fantasy novella tells a story of family, loss, oppression, and rebellion that will stay with you long after the final page. The Raven Scholar by Antonio Hodgson. In this epic fantasy, the Emperor's High Scholar must track down a murderer and protect the throne with help coming from an unexpected place. Senseless by Ronald Malfi. In this Los Angeles set supernaturally tinged thriller, three storylines converge to create a tapestry of deceit, distrust, and unapologetic horror. Now, out of all of the releases of April 15th that I mentioned, Senseless by Ronald Malfi is the only one that I have on my wish list because it seemed the most intriguing to me.
Mm.
What do you think, Akira?
Ugh. Sorry, I got distracted by the dog.
It's okay.
There, there really wasn't one that stuck out. I usually don't gear towards like science fiction. That's
Hmm.
just not my cup of tea. I haven't really found science fiction writing that just
Spoke to
calls to
you?
me. So none of the couple of science, yeah, calls speaks, yeah. It's just not my cup of tea. Even though I do like sci-fi movies, but I don't like reading sci-fi.
Okay, that
Does that
makes
make
sense.
sense?
That makes sense.
Mm. But I mean, I might give them a try. But like I said, they like the ones that we haven't seen. I feel like I need to physically see them.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
No,
I
you
feel like
making
I
sense.
hate judging a book by its cover, but at the same time, I can't really help it.
No, you making sense. You're making perfect sense. Don't feel bad.
Okay. Yay!
All
Perfect
right.
sense.
I got some April 22nd releases and also April 29th. So we are almost done with the books.
Okay.
Okay, April 22nd releases. You have Advocate by Daniel M. Ford.
Excuse me.
The Warden series continues as recalled
Mhm.
from Lone Pine to investigate claims of murder by Magic against her mentor, legendary Warden Bardem Jacques. Elise takes to the streets of the grand city of Lascence and plumbs the deeper secrets of Lyceum to clear his name. Down in the Sea of Angels by
Mm.
Kan Wong, an intense and thoughtful time traveling dystopian fantasy where three individuals psychically linked through time fight enslavement, exploitation, and environmental collapse. Eat the Ones You Love. This is a story of about desire, dreams, decay, and working retail at the end of the world. 11% by Marin Uthog.
Mm.
An inverse, The Handmaid's Tale that asks, what if women took over the world? And last, When the Wolf, excuse me, When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. In this hard tale, a struggling actress rescues a runaway child from his violent father, but her dangerous good deed turns even more frightening when she realizes the boy has terrifying powers. Again, out of the April 22nd, this book by Nat Cassidy was the only one that actually spoke
Mhm.
to me. I also put this on my wish list to get when it comes out.
Mhm.
Okay. You have, excuse me, you have April 29th releases The Amalfi Curse by Sarah Penner. A nautical archaeologist travels to the Amalfi Coast to research shipwrecks and secretly hunt for treasure. Before long, she discovers ancient sorcery may be stirring to life as a result. You have Awakened by A.E. Osworth. A coven of trans witches battle an evil AI in this magical coming of age romp about love, loss, drag shows, and late capitalism. Broken Souls and
Mm.
Bone. Yeah, that was that. I wasn't expecting drag shows, but okay. Oh. Broken Souls and Bones by L.G. Andrews. Together they restore a divided kingdom or burn it down in this new romantasy. City of All Seasons by Oliver K. Lagmead and Elia Whitley. A vibrant and emotional science fantasy about cousins trapped in mirrored worlds, the resplendent and verdant summer city, and the ice-carved wastes of the winter city. The Edge of Yesterday by Rita Woods. A dancer suffering from a career-ending ailment retreats to her hometown of Detroit, where she unexpectedly travels back in time to 1925 and even more unexpectedly falls in love with a doctor she meets there. But her time traveling ends up causing cosmic consequences in her original timeline. You have Enigma by Runix.
Mm.
A twisted Hades and Persephone meets the enthralling suspense of the secret history in a new, scorchingly hot, dark academia tale of unforgettable, legendary love. You have The Floating World by Axio. Final Fantasy meets Shadow and Bone in this lighthearted romantic fantasy reimagining the Korean legend of celestial maidens. You have The Ghost Woods by C.J. Cook. Gorham arrives in 1965, one of a string of women sent to Lichen Hall to give birth, and she soon suspects the proprietors are hiding something. Then she meets the mysterious mother and young boy who lives in the grounds, and together they begin to unpick the secrets of this place. You have The Murder Machine by Heather Graham.
Creepy.
I know, right? A FBI agent takes the puzzling and disturbing case of a smart home that seemingly murdered its occupant. One Way Witch by Nnedi Okorafor, set in the universe of African futurist luminary Nnedi Okorafor, first introduced in the World Fantasy Award-winning Who Fears Death. One Way Witch is the second in the She Who Knows trilogy. Polybus by Colin Armstrong. Stranger Things meets The Walking Dead in this chilling novel based on the terrifying urban legend about a video game created by the government for psychological warfare. Okay, then you have The Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig. Five friends on a camping trip discover a staircase in the middle of the woods, and one of them disappears when he climbs up and never returns, and the stairs disappear. 20 years later, the friends reunite when the staircase reappears and set out to solve its mysteries. You have The Traitor of Sherwood Forest by Amy S. Kaufman, an immersive, sultry, heart-pounding historical reimagining of the Robin Hood ballads told through the piercing eyes of one of his spies. Whisper in the Wind by Luke Arnold, the fourth installment of Luke Arnold's Fetch Phillips series. Whisper in the Wind takes readers in a very different Sunder City, one where government corruption is rampant and tensions are rising. And that concludes the book releases of April. I have two books on my wish list from April 29th releases, and that's Polybus by Colin Armstrong and The Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig.
Hmm.
Yep. Now, let's dive into some horror movies that are releasing in April. We have Screamboat. Screamboat is an upcoming comedy horror film based on UB Iwerks' 1928 short animated film Screamboat Willie, directed by Stephen Lamort. The movie tells the story of an ordinary mouse that undergoes a terrifying transformation during a carnival where late night ferry rides are a thing. On a seemingly routine day filled with unsuspecting passengers, the mutated creature goes on a rampage, killing everyone on sight and leaving the remaining survivors in terror. Can they survive the killer, who has an appetite for massacring tourists? The film, which stars David Howard Thornton, Tyler Posey, Jared Johnston, and many others, will hit theaters on April 2nd, 2025. Then you have Hell of a Summer, which follows 24-year-old camp counselor Jason Hockenberg, who arrives at Camp Pineway thinking his biggest problem is that he feels out of touch with his teenage co-workers. What he doesn't know is that a mass killer is lurking on the campgrounds, brutally picking counselors off one by one. Hell of a Summer, starring Fred Heckenberg, Abby Quinn, DeFaro Wu-A-Tai, Billy Burke, and Finn Wolfhard, made its world premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival on September 10th, 2023, and is scheduled to be released in theaters on April 4th, 2025. So it's out today.
Mm.
Written and directed by Ryan Coogler, Sinners is an upcoming supernatural horror that stars Michael B. Jordan in a dual role, also starring Haley Steinfeld, Wunmi Mosaka, Jack O'Connell, and Delroy Lindo. The film centers around Smoke and Stack, twin brothers who left their hometown years ago following a troubled incident. However, they return to the place they never wanted to be, hoping to find a fresh start, only to realize that a bigger evil awaits them. Can the brothers uncover the secret behind these monsters that blend in with humans and save their hometown before it's too late? Sinners will open in theaters on April 18th, 2025. And last, we have Until Dawn, which is the most anticipated horror film of April because it is based on the very successful video game, which was recently remastered with improved graphics. While it is not a direct adaptation of the original game, it shares the same universe and expands on the game series mythology while exploring a standalone narrative. Directed by David F. Sandberg and written by Blair Butler and Gary Dauberman, the story follows Clove, whose sister Melanie has mysteriously disappeared in a remote valley. 1 year later, Clove decides to search for answers behind Melanie's vanishing and travels to the valley with some of her friends, only to be hunted by a mysterious killer before daybreak and forced to start over. Stuck in a time loop, Clove and her companions are forced to experience the nightmarish night over and over again. The catch that being that the killer changes every time, and they use various frightening methods to carry out their assassination. Will Clove be able to find a solution to this never-ending nightmare and learn what exactly happened to her sister? Until Dawn will be released theatrically on April 25th. Also released today was Wake Up,
Mm.
The Grove, Marvelous Children of the Apocalypse. On April 8th, Rumpelstiltskin will be released. April 11th, Marshmallow. April 18th, The Ugly Stepsister. It Feels, The Ritual. And April 25th, The Shroud, Skill House, and Big Freaking Rat.
Mhm. Very active month.
Yes, and last but not least, the upcoming video games. From the devious souls that brought us Tim Burton action adventure Lost in Random comes a creepily stunning upcoming horror game, The Midnight Walk. The Midnight Walk is a dark and eerie adventure game that has been lovingly handcrafted from character models to environments. Awakening as the Burnt One, players will make a curious friend in the humanoid lamp creature Potboy, and together they must survive five strange tales about fire in a bid for survival. Now, this doesn't come out in April. This actually comes out May 8th. The second season of
Oh,
interactive
okay.
horror series, The Dark Pictures Anthology, is preparing for takeoff. Space-themed Directive 8020 was unveiled in September 2023, giving us a peek at its desolate deep space terrors that invoke a sense of dead space, system shock, and even a touch of Alien. This upcoming horror game looks set to deliver supermassive choice-based narrative adventure stylings once again. This time with survival horror leanings to up the stakes that much more. Ready to hold the lives of an ensemble cast in your hands as you fight to keep them alive against impossible odds? You will have that opportunity on October 2nd. And last but not least, Kyle Crane is back from the assumed dead in Dying Light the Beast, an upcoming standalone chapter in the first person survival horror series. Last seen supposedly sacrificing himself on a rooftop in Haran, Techland surprised fans by bringing back the series' inaugural hero for one last hurrah. Having spent 13 years in captivity being experimented on, it makes sense that Crane is pissed and not afraid to let the bad guys know it. With his dynamic day night cycle, superchargers, volatiles, and a greater focus on gunplay than in the past installments, the Beast is shaping up to be pure dying light zombie killing mania wrapped up in a tight 18 plus hour story. It's also going to be free to all owners of Dying Light 2 Deluxe Edition. Release date is sometime this summer. So, Akira, what you think about this episode tonight?
Very informative, very varying releases. So I feel like there's something for everybody.
Yes. All right. So, do you have any questions, any comments? Is there anything that I mentioned that you're looking forward to?
Um, no questions or concerns. A few things I mildly might be interested in, but I can't really say for sure,
Gotcha.
if that makes sense.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, that's all I had. Any last remarks?
Hmm. Everybody have a good weekend.
Okay, well, we're gonna wrap this up. Like Akira said, I hope y'all have a very good weekend. If you're in the South, there may be some
Stay safe.
bad weather spots, so please be safe. If you don't
Hmm.
have to go out in the bad weather, stay at home. Um, I hope y'all enjoy
Yep.
yourselves, read a good book, watch a
Enjoy
good
y'all's
movie.
weekend.
All right. And this
Hmm.
concludes the Two Geeks One Mic
Play some
podcast.
video games.
Absolutely do that. I might do that this weekend.
Hmm.
All right. So this concludes Two Geeks One Mic
Mm.
podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Geeky Kale,
I'm your other host, Akira.
and we will see you all next time.